Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
I'm not trying to get on the political side of anything, but saying that he served with honor and distinction, honor and dignity, I mean, that's the exact opposite of what happened. And that's a slap in the face to everybody who honorably joined the Army, deployed, returned home, or deployed and died in combat. Saying that Bergdahl was honorable is the exact opposite. He's no hero. I mean, he's a deserter.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. That is the former team leader of Sergeant Bergdahl, Evan Bowe, on Fox News. And we're joined right now by journalist, author, special correspondent for the Daily Beast, and editor of Democracy, a journal of ideas. We say hello to Michael Tomasky once again. Hey, Michael.
Hey, Steve.
Good to talk to you. Okay. Would you consider him, I don't know, a right-wing cracker, or crack, or whatever? Because the title of the headline of your piece at the Daily Beast is that the Bowe Bergdahl story is right-wing crack.
I'm not talking about soldiers, obviously. The soldiers are giving their opinion on the ground, and I respect their opinions. And quite frankly, that sounds right to me based on what we know so far, although we haven't heard his story, his side of the story, and we got to hear two sides of every story. I would say, however, that right now, officially, whether people like it or not, officially he's not a deserter. Officially, he's a sergeant of the United States Army in good standing, and you bring him home and then settle the question.
So your problem is what? That Obama did not break the law, as many people have been saying, and not just on the right, or that we did not set a new precedent and encourage put a target on the backs of our military all over the world and American travelers too by exchanging here these 5 high-level Taliban detainees. I mean, I don't know. So what's your problem with conservatives trashing this whole thing?
There are legitimate questions to raise about this, and there's definitely ways in which this was politically mishandled by the White House. Having the family come to the White House and appear with Obama, I think that was a big mistake. But so you want to get into the Republicans in Congress want to get into the legitimate questions? That's fine. They should get into the legitimate questions. But something tells me that that's not where this is going. This is a hunt for a slip-up that can be converted into a high crime or misdemeanor. That's what this is.
Well, Lindsey Graham said yesterday if he does it again by as he said, breaking the law and not notifying Congress as is required by law, notwithstanding the signing statement, that he would talk about impeachment.
Yeah, and you know what Lindsey Graham would say if Mitt Romney were the president and did the same thing? Nothing. He would say Article 2 of the Constitution. You know that. Well,
I mean, there's problems here. There's a lot of problems. I mean, and Democrats, and I could play you, non-politicians. I could play you whether it's Chris Matthews or Mika Brzezinski agreeing with you, and of course Jeffrey Toobin on CNN, President broke the law. Jonathan Turley, that this is the most egregious roughshod over the Constitution, one of many, because he testified to Congress that this president's really pushing the limit, trashing and ignoring the Constitution. So does this not bother you also?
Oh, it does. Sure. I mean, I think it's a legitimate question about this law. Now, this law, you want to cite examples from the other side, I'll throw Charles Krauthammer at you, right?
Yeah, he's one who said the other way, absolutely.
Yeah, and he said this law was really written so they wouldn't empty out Gitmo, in a week. And something like this, in Krauthammer's view, is completely within the Article 2 prerogative of the president. So that's a question that has to be settled, I guess, by the Supreme Court. But yeah, I mean, as a liberal, I am disturbed not only by this, but by a lot of the other stuff, the NSA stuff and things like that. But I would remind your listeners, who are probably fuming, I would remind your listeners that if you want to talk about emptying out Gitmo, it's worth pointing out that George Bush released more than 500 prisoners from Gitmo, and Obama has released only about 80.
Well, I mean, I don't know the caliber of the people who were released. I was against releasing anybody from Gitmo, but you know, Barack Obama made it a point to want to close Gitmo, and like everything else, he can't get Congress to go along with what he needs under the law, so he does things in his own way around the law. And again, this is just another example. And what we did here is unprecedented. George Bush didn't capitulate to the demands of terrorists by releasing 5 terrorists in exchange for anything. He released whoever he released because he felt they should be released. I don't know enough about every one of those individual cases, but there was certainly nothing of this magnitude or caliber that in the minds of so many in the military and elsewhere is now going to put a target on the backs of our military all over the world.
Well, that again is a fair concern. You know, I personally don't think we're going to start seeing, you know, kidnappings. I mean, this guy, you know, he was easy pickings. I mean, he wandered off his base. He was essentially by himself.
Well, many say he looked for the Taliban. He went willingly to the Taliban.
Some say that. You know, let's wait to hear what the.
Well, everybody has said it except him. And are we going to believe him when he talks, when we have, and I mean, what evidence is he going to present? I mean, I got stories here, you know, from newspapers along the way. I got 2010. The Taliban said that he converted to Islam and he's teaching its fighters bomb-making skills. We got the emails to his parents where he despised the people, despised his country, despised his military comrades, and said he wanted to go help the Afghan people in his own way. And his father said, "Follow your conscience." So, I mean, what could he possibly say? And we have the note he left that was published in the New York Times. What could he possibly say, in your view, that would change all the evidence, including eyewitness accounts, of what he did?
I have no idea. And I'm not really concerned about that, Steve. I don't know. I mean, if he's a deserter, he's a deserter. I don't care one way or the other. I'm just saying that he should be brought home, and that, you know, a price has to be negotiated for bringing him home and getting him out of the Haqqani network, and that price was arrived at. And if people think that price was too high, you know, maybe it was. I mean, that's a fair question. I mean, obviously, if one of these guys gets back to Afghanistan in the next year and gets out of Qatar, you know, before this promised deadline, then sure, that's a problem.
Well, what if it's in a year? Why before the deadline? What if they all go back in a year and a half and they resume their Taliban positions and they start either welcoming in Al-Qaeda or just resuming the throwing of lye in the face of little girls going to school? I mean, what difference does it make how long it takes?
Well, the only difference is that we're going to be gone by then.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand. But Michelle Obama did her husband's media address a few Saturdays ago and framed the whole Boko Haram deal, the whole thing. All she mentioned it in the context of was little girls not being able to go to school. That's why they kidnapped these girls, ignoring the fact that they had slaughtered 49 boys in a boarding school in Nigeria by slitting their throats and burning the place down about 2 months ago. But if that's their main concern is little girls and their rights, what do you think it's going to do to their rights with these guys going back to the Taliban?
Yeah, but, you know, Steve, this is all true, but, you know, what do you propose to do about it? I mean,
well, I'm sensing more agreement with you.
What could President Romney or McCain be doing about it much differently?
I think they never would have given up those terrorists for this man.
And even if this man was, are going to make all the difference in the world. Like those 5 guys are going to be the difference between little girls going to school and not going to school.
Not the point. These guys are going to put America's lives in danger. I mean, here's the thing. I thought we'd have. From your, and I read your piece. I sensed much more outrage, and this is not an insult or anything. And I'm glad we agree on a lot because I like talking to you, and even if we disagree. But I expected much more disagreement, and what I'm getting is you and I agree on maybe 90% of all this.
I don't know about 90% of it. No, what I'm worked up about is this notion that people on the right will just say anything to be against Obama, whatever it is. Whatever he would have done, they'd be against it. And you know that if this kid had died over there, everybody would be saying, oh, Obama's weak, Obama's weak, Obama's this, Obama's that. You know that that's true. I'm against that, and I'm against ginning up, turning everything into talking about impeachment and looking for a high crime and misdemeanor. These are political judgments. These are extremely difficult political judgments. You can disagree with them, but they're not grounds for impeachment.
But you wrote this piece before Lindsey Graham uttered the I word after last night's, or I guess maybe you didn't. I don't think you quoted Lindsey Graham in here. So I mean, you wrote this before Lindsey Graham said impeachment. He's the only one I know of who said impeachment so far that I mean, at least of any significance. So I don't really see that as the deal. Maybe there'd be criticism if he didn't get this kid. Maybe not. I don't know. But I'll tell you what. Dianne Feinstein was one of the first out of the box saying they broke the law and they should have come to Congress. And now Obama goes around making it worse, saying, "Oh, we talked to Congress." Yeah, in 2011. And everyone that he talked to said, "Don't do it."
Look, Feinstein said that, but she's not saying that I want to investigate and I want to
Nobody's saying impeach that I've heard. Who else besides Graham have you heard elected official? Just tell me, because I'd like to know.
No, he's the only one.
All
but,
right.
But we'll see where these hearings go. They're going to start these hearings soon.
Fair enough.
And we'll see what happens.
Michael, thank you for coming on. I hope you come back. I look forward to talking to you.
Anytime.
Thank you. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very interesting conversation. And you know what? Because any American, liberal, non-liberal, intellectually honest, like Michael is being here, there's not much of an argument. It wasn't good. We're coming back with Gimme 5.